This past weekend, I woke up with a toothache. I haven't had one of those in years, and this one was pretty significant. So I was lying in bed thinking about how am I going to deal with it? Do I take some Advil? Do I call my dentist? And then my thoughts went to the lengths that I go to avoid pain. When working with rough wood and woodworking, I wear gloves. I use a traffic app to avoid congestion and backups. If my phone rings and I see spam alert, I don't answer. I will take some measures to avoid pain. And whenever I do experience some pain that was avoidable, I get pretty frustrated with myself. But what about unavoidable pain? For example, I was born with loose shoulder joints that required, when I was in high school, I tore up one of my shoulders as a result of constant dislocation and had to have surgery. And coming out of surgery, every painkiller they tried for me, had a different allergic reaction, such that I wound up being able to be only on aspirin and ice. It made for a pretty painful several days as I felt like an axe was in my shoulder as I was healing. But it was not really that frustrating because I knew this was unavoidable. This was just how I was made, and I needed to go through this process if I was going to continue to play the sports that I wanted to play. As I've encountered challenges in my life, many of which, if I had had a choice, I would have passed on, wouldn't have wanted to go through that experience. They're all been unpleasant and not a part of my game plan. I would have seen them as detours and distractions from what I really wanted to do. But when I viewed them through some perspective, looking back, I realized that my character has been developed along the way. I'm much more empathetic to people who've been through surgeries and are allergic to painkillers than I would have been otherwise. I'm also much more resilient after being tested by the winds of adversity. I like the definition of resilient as a sapling tree. Picture a sapling tree on a hillside that's being battered by winds pretty regularly. That sapling's roots will grow deeper than normal because of the winds blowing against it, the adversity that sapling is experiencing. So that's what I've found as well when I've gone through painful experiences, is that it helps me be stronger, have more fortitude, and just the knowledge that I survived helps make me stronger. Whenever I have any initial thoughts of doubt, I realize pretty quickly how unhelpful those thoughts are. I intentionally reframe them to help me be them be much more helpful for me as I'm going through struggles. When I face new things in the future, let's say I'm facing unavoidable pain, I can be confident from past experiences that I'll be able to move measurably forward through this. I'm not gonna cave. I am gonna survive this. But what about when facing avoidable pain? Will I go to some extreme lengths to avoid that pain and miss out on some significant things in life? For example, nausea is hell to me. I, I will go to great lengths to avoid being nauseated. Now, checking a label and an expiration date in my refrigerator is a small inconvenience, and that's well worth it if I can avoid food poisoning. But if I hear that a stomach bug is going around and I decide to miss some public events as a result, that's me taking it to an extreme. It's not a healthy game plan in the long run because my fear of that nausea, of that pain, is having me miss out on some parts of life that I need to experience. I need to challenge myself and from that fear. Skipping things is not wise when it's something that just might happen. For example, if I'm getting ready to take a long road trip, avoiding eating a spicy meal at lunch is probably pretty wise and a pretty small sacrifice. But if I decide to skip the trip altogether because I got car sick a few years ago, now that's a debilitating decision. That's something that I need to address and tell myself what's going on. Speaking of which, that's a great regular exercise when you're stressed, is to ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? What am I telling myself? Is it true? First off, I might get a stomach bug. Don't know that's true or not. I could. But is that a helpful thought in that particular instance? It's a great way to filter your thoughts to make sure that you're having the right perspective, you're having helpful things that are helping you move forward and not keeping you stuck in this fear of something that might happen, that there might be some pain that I want to avoid. You could share some of these thoughts with a friend. It's a great opportunity for them to give you outside perspective and just say, I get where you're coming from, but I think that you're a little bit out of balance right now. So just a few thoughts on addressing avoidable pain so that you don't miss out on life. So what kind of pain are you trying to avoid right now?